Hello readers, it's Sasha, and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in 2023. This is the first year in a while that not a single ounce of my reading journey was documented on this channel, because I did stop doing booktube kind of mid-2022-ish, like April, May-ish. So there was a small part of my reading journey that was still captured on camera, but 2023, absolutely nothing was put online other than Goodreads. So I wanted to chat with you about all the books that I read. It was a lot, so it's not going to do like a full in-depth reviews. Like, it's just going to be a couple sentences chatting about each book / series that I read in 2023, and we're going to start from my least favorite and work my way up to my favorite and like the best thing that I personally think that I read last year. So I'll start with a few books that I won't be rating because they were nonfiction. So I read You Too, which was compiled by Janet Gutler. It is a collection of true stories from female authors who have been assaulted in some capacity. It is not my place to rate these stories because they are real life encounters of things that they have personally dealt with. So I will say the binding of the book, the stories coming together, it was beautifully done. I wouldn't give this a bad rating. I just don't feel comfortable rating, even when it's a good star review. I just don't like rating nonfiction. It's just not something that I've ever done or am going to do. The second nonfiction book is In the Dream House by Carmen Machado. This is a true story of her going through an abusive relationship with a lesbian partner that they were with. It was beautifully done. Again, I have no issues with it, but I don't like rating someone's true story. It feels icky to me, so I don't want to do it. The next book I want to talk about is a collection. So it's an anthology of short stories by Hispanic authors settled around the Christmas holiday. It's called Amor Actually, and it was fine. Like, some of the books or some of the stories were very mid, some of them were pretty good, some of them were great. I didn't settle on a rating because there was just so much happening that I couldn't really decide. At the time, I just felt it was best to just leave it as it is. It was definitely a good collection of stories. It just wasn't something that I felt like I could rate because my feelings were all over the place with it. Okay, now we get into the meat and potatoes of this whole video. So we'll start with my least favorite book of the whole year. It was Foul is Fair by Hannah Capin or Capin. This is a YA Shakespearean retelling. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. Literally every Shakespeare retelling has me done. Like, I bore myself, or I just don't understand the story, or there's just like a level that doesn't make sense to me. Like, it just doesn't work ever for me. I gave this 1 star. I don't like it. So next we'll talk about The Naughty List by Ellie Mae McGregor. This was a book I read to boost my Goodreads count toward the end of the year because I was definitely not hitting my goal of 90, which technically I didn't hit anyway, but we don't need to talk about that. It was about a woman in her midlife crisis era boning the new Santa Claus, who was also having like a midlife crisis. I don't know. It was really weird. He came down the chimney and was like, oh my god, she's a goddess. And then like they just like, I didn't understand. It wasn't good. The writing was not good. Nothing was good. I did give it 1.5 stars because I'm not gonna lie, there was some parts that were kind of entertaining. I was kind of like, this is so whack that I'm actually kind of digging it, but otherwise not it. Now let's move on to 2 stars in the 2.5 star region. So let's start with The Wrong Man by Kate White. This is literally an adult mystery thriller that centers around a pen that was stolen. I'm literally not joking. It was not good. There was like no driving factor to the plot. Like, it was so standstill, and it just made no sense. So I gave it 2 stars. I don't know why I didn't give it 1, but like maybe I saw something in it. Maybe there were some parts that entertained me, but overall, no. Next is 2.5. So I read Little White Lies by Philippa East. This is about a woman who connects with her daughter that was missing for a good number of years. It was just okay. Nothing stuck out to me. I kind of forgot I read it, to be honest, when I was compiling this list. So that's why I don't really have anything to say about it. I don't remember why my thoughts led me to 2.5, but it was just okay. Next, 2.5 is Uncharted by Erin Cashman. So I do remember this one a little bit more than I remember the other one, but it's essentially just a YA mystery thriller. I had mistaken it for a different book, so I thought I was picking up this contemporary book about like a dance or a dancer, and it ended up being this like really messy YA mystery thriller with a plot that made very little sense. So I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Maybe it's because it wasn't what I was expecting when I picked it up, so I have to give it like a fair shot, but either way, it was still also kind of a messy book, so I don't really think I would have liked it anyway. Next is Christmas Obsession by Darcy Rose. I also rated this 2.5 stars. It's literally just a stalker gets this girl away from her abusive mother, and it's also Christmas. Like, Christmas plays zero part in this, other than I think it happens on Christmas Day, but like, it could happen literally on like March 3rd, and it wouldn't have made a single ounce of difference to the story. So yeah, I didn't need it in my life. It was just another booster read, to be honest. Next, moving into 3 and 3.5 stars and like the little in-between numbers, because now we're starting to get series involved, so we'll chat about it. But essentially the first 3-star read I had, this was almost a 2.5, was The Stoneheart Bride by Katie Wilde. I literally only read this to boost my goal. This was like the last book that I ended up reading, or it was like the second last book, I don't know. It did its job. It wasn't anything special. There was like some like smutty scenes in it. It was a small novella in like a novel series, so I don't really know what was happening, to be honest. I picked it up because it was like recommended on, I think, like some type of list, but yeah, I didn't check to see that it was in the middle of a whole series, so I had no idea what was happening. Next, let's chat about With Malice by Eileen Cook. This was a YA mystery thriller where this girl wakes up with no memory for the past 6 weeks and is being accused of murdering her best friend in a car accident in Italy. It's giving that American woman that murdered or allegedly murdered the Italian roommate that she had. That's what it's giving, except not good. Like, at least that story had depth. We're not getting depth. We're not getting anything. We're getting surface level at best. We're getting tide pool, and I want ocean. Next is The Christmas Toy by Krista Wolf. It's literally a woman giving herself to 3 men after the last woman that gave herself to 3 men left. It's nothing special. It's literally just reverse harem, following another lady's footsteps. I don't know. If it works for you, it works for you. It didn't work for me. It was just okay. Next is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. It is about a woman who meets a man who has a daughter that resembles the daughter that this woman had been missing for several years. And gee, I wonder what the plot twist could be for that one. I don't know. Next is The Midnight Club by Christopher Pike. This is also a Netflix show, which I've not seen, but it's essentially about all of these kids in hospice that get together at midnight and tell stories. It was fine. It was good for what it was, but it was really depressing. So like, keep that in mind, I guess, probably when you're also watching the show. But yeah, it was just okay for me. Like, I didn't love it. I didn't have any like really strong love or hate feelings toward it. I just put it right in the middle. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn is next. Girl goes missing, husband's at the center, but oh my, we have a twist. Literally everyone and their mom and their grandmother and their dog has read Gone Girl. I read it for the first time last year and I was severely underwhelmed. If I had read that initially when it had come out, or even just like a few years after it had come out, I feel like I would have felt just leaps and bounds ahead of it. I would have loved it. But after having read so many mystery thrillers, I don't love it that much. It was just okay. Next is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. I did think this book was fine. It had very little personality. Like, there was not a lot going on, but the plot twist at the end was pretty good, so I had to give it 3 stars, but only for the plot twist. And it wasn't even apparently that great of a plot twist, but to my little brain, it was. Next is the LA Ruthless series. I gave this 3.25 stars overall. There were 2 books. The first was 3, the second was 3.5 stars. I liked this. It's just, you know, forced marriage, mean, grumpy man, hot woman get together. Magic happens, I guess. I don't know. But it was fine. There was very little plot. It was mostly sex. And that is fine sometimes. Whatever. Go ahead. But like, at least have me attach the characters if there's no plot. Because if I'm not attached to the characters, what's the point? And I didn't really care about the characters. So there wasn't really a point for me to read this. Next is The Sainthood Boys of Lowell High by Siobhan Davis. This is a whole series I read. Each book got a 3.5 stars. I think there were 3 books in total. It was fine. It didn't like jump out at me as being amazing. There was really just like bullying, enemies to lovers, boarding school, reverse harem situation. It was fine. Like I said, it did what it needed to do, but I'm not going to remember it. Next is I Am Watching You by Teresa Driscoll. This is about a woman. He hears 2 men talking about committing a crime. She doesn't say anything, and then crime is committed. But now she's getting really random, like mysterious letters, and there shouldn't really be anybody that knows she didn't say anything about the crime. So yeah, that's what that's about. It was fine. It didn't do much for me. The Fall of Innocence by Jenny Torres Sanchez, I also gave 3.5 stars. It started a hell of a lot better than finished. I really liked it to start. It's a young adult contemporary. It's very heartbreaking. It's sad. A lot of things happen. It starts off, like I said, really well and just ends not at all how I wanted it to end. And the author made a choice, and it's good to make your own choices when you're writing. Sure, why not? I didn't like the choice. It did not flow well with my vibe. I just wasn't feeling it. So for me, it was a little hard for me to get behind said choice that author made. But at the end of the day, what are you gonna do? It's not my writing. It's not my book. Sick Boys by Clarissa Wilde, I also gave 3.5 stars. It's another reverse harem, like boarding school / college romance type situation. Not a lot happened. It was very mid. There were like good scenes, but it wasn't like crazy. It didn't do anything for me. So yeah. Love Life in the List by Casey West. It was just a book about a teenage girl who made a list of things she wanted to do, which has never happened ever. It was standard girl makes list, girl finds list overwhelming. Things happen that they shouldn't. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. I'm not the biggest fan of the writing style that was used in this book, and also the plot was just very similar to other stories I've read with the same idea. So wasn't necessarily for me, but I still had a bit of fun reading it just because it's so like cute and quirky kind of thing. A Cross Country Christmas by Courtney Welsh, I also gave 3.5 stars. A woman takes a trip with her brother's best friend, road trip across the country to get home for Christmas. Nothing special. It was cute. There were cute moments. There were good moments, but it's not one of the holiday romances that I feel will stick out for me. I read a lot of good holiday romances last year, and it's not one that I would really remember reading. All These Beautiful Strangers by Elizabeth Clefaux. This is a book about a girl who's at a boarding school. Her mom has died like 7 to 10 years ago. I can't remember the exact time frame. And there's trauma and there's mystery, and it's cool. It's good. It's good. Like, it's genuinely good. I did predict the plot twist at the end, but it was fine. It just didn't stick out to me as being this amazing, wonderful mystery thriller, so I didn't rate it as such. The Winter's Curse trilogy by Marie Rudkowski. I liked it. It was a good little fantasy series. Do I really remember what it was about? No, I think it had something to do with like a kingdom probably, but it was fine. It just like probably lower fantasy series I read last year. But out of the 3 books, The Winter's Curse was 3.5 stars and the last 2 were both 4. So not bad, just not my favorite. Then The Selection Series by Kiera Cass. This whole series got a 3.8 out of 5, which is not bad. It was pretty good. I just thought it was so stupid that I had fun. Like, it wasn't anything to take serious, but I just had like such a good time. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just have fun reading things, and I had so much fun. I had the most fun, I think, with the first one. It is just, let me tell you, if you don't know what it's about, it's a girl literally in America entering into a like favored ladies competition where she has to like be picked by like the prince or the equivalent of such. I just had a fun time. I don't rate to be critical. I don't rate to be like picky. I just like, I rate based on vibes, and I rate based on the fun I have. So I loved it and I had a lot of fun with it. So therefore it got like, I think the first one got 4 stars. And then the other 2 were kind of like not as good. But like, I don't know, I had fun. It's just sometimes things can be fun. It's fine. Next is the Shades of London series by Maureen Johnson. This is a 3-book series. I think it was supposed to be like a 4th, but she never actually ended up finishing it. It's like a Jack the Ripper ghost story, but is it? We don't know. I'm joking. We do know, but like, you don't know. I know, because I read it.
You don't know. Because you haven't read it?
It was fine. It was good. The first book, great. It did go downhill, especially the 3rd book, but I think it's because the author had still set this up to have a 4th book, but then just never committed to writing it, which stuff happens. If you're not like feeling it, you can't force it kind of thing. But it did make the 3rd book fall a little flat for me because there were characters and new settings that weren't resolved, new situations that just didn't have an ending, because I think they were supposed to carry on into the 4th book. It was good. It was fun. I had fun. It was fun. The first book was a reread for me, but the other 2 I hadn't read yet. So yeah. Now let's move on to 4 stars and 4.5 stars. The first 4-star book I want to talk about is The Obsession by Jessie Q Sutanto. It's literally just like a stalker gets Uno reversed. Like, it's kind of fun. I had a good time reading it. I didn't actually remember reading it though, so clearly it has not left an impact on my life, but I had fun in the moment, and I know that because I rated it 4 stars. Like a Love Song is by Gabriela Martinez, and this is just about a superstar, pop star lady that gets a superstar actor, fake boyfriend, and then it kind of like turns real, as it would in a young adult romance. It was fun. It was cute. It didn't add anything to my life, but I had a great time reading it. How to Make Friends with the Dark by Kathleen Glasgow is a book about grief and loss and trauma, about a young woman who lost her mother and is now living with that and trying to kind of, I guess, relearn how to live in a world where her mother doesn't exist when it had just been the 2 of them for so long. I gave this 4 stars like the last one. I loved it. I did. It's another one I don't remember a whole lot about, but at the time I remember it did have a pretty big impact on on me because I was raised by my mom and just my mom. So I thought about that while I was reading it. I do remember that much, but in terms of plot and like other feelings I had, I don't really remember. The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson is Carrie, but like more interesting to me. I had a great time reading it. 4 stars again. Fun, covers cool, just overall fun time. The Lonely Fajita by Abigail Mann is a 4.5 star, my first of the 4.5. It's about a woman who's facing like homelessness. She's newly single. She moves into a retirement community and lives with an elderly person who is living alone that might need a little bit of extra help. And it's just all about their relationship, their dynamic. I loved it so much. I didn't have any expectations going into it. Never heard about the book before. I had so much fun. It was literally such a cute story. I love like when old people are in stories and they can impart like wisdom but are also really cute and funny and quirky and just like witty. I love that. Apparently I didn't really feel like I connected to like the boomer generation the way that I do in books, but I love it. Hostage by Claire McIntosh. It's a mystery thriller except airborne. It's cool. I had fun. I enjoyed it. It was fast paced. The plot was moving along nicely, but it wasn't a 5-star because it didn't like stay with me at the time. But yeah. Next is the Madison Kate series. This is a series by Tate James. It is a like high school / college reverse harem romance. Same as before, except this was probably the best one I read this year or last year. It was the first one I read and I just had a lot of fun with it. The other ones kind of felt similar to this one, but because I read this one first, I think I liked it more. Season Schemings by Madison Bailey is a 4.5 star book about a woman who has to go spend Christmas with her ex-boyfriend's parents as they do every year as tradition allows, and he's bringing his new girl, so she ends up getting a fake boyfriend because she is like a famous baker, and so like she has the clout to do so. Loved it. It was cute, it was fun, it was holiday, which I always love. Had an amazing time reading it. Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, another 4.5 star for me. Loved it. Do I think that Ali Hazelwood has a very specific skill set? Yes. I've never read her new delve into fantasy, so I can't say for sure if it's like evolving, but she writes a woman scientist falling in love with like her nemesis. She does that perfectly. I eat it up every time. This was a little less than The Love Hypothesis for me, but like still, I eat it like candy. Devour. Wreck My Plans, Jillian Meadows, 4.5 stars. Holiday romance. Yet again, woman goes home to her family's house for Christmas. Guess who's there? Brother's best friend, part 2. Love a brother's best friend trope, apparently. But yeah, it was actually super fun. I loved it. I had a great time reading it. There was like a little smutty, but like it was just so good. I had such a great time reading it. In the Weeds by B.K. Morrison is the second book in the Love Light Farms trilogy, I think. Essentially, A Christmas Tree Farm brought these two people together. I'm not going to give a whole lot. Yes, they can be read separately, but I don't remember a whole lot because it was like the first book I read in the year of 2023. So it's literally been like 18 months almost, so I don't remember a whole lot, but it all started on A Christmas Tree Farm. Actually, it all started at like a conference many years prior and then brought back together at A Christmas Tree Farm. A Tale as Old as Time by Liz Braswell. This is in the Twisted Tales series. This series is so hit or miss for me. I either love it or I either hate it. It's not really much in between, but I really love this Beauty and the Beast retelling. I think I liked it the most because it was the first one that ever came on my radar. Love Beauty and the Beast in general. It's one of my favorites, but also I bought it in Disney World, or I bought it like when I was in Orlando to go to Disney World. So for me, it holds this very special place in my heart. Next is Darius the Great is Not Okay. This is by Adib Khorram. It's a coming of age story about a young Middle Eastern boy, and he goes back to the Middle East and visits his family for the first time. It was really good. I had a lovely time reading it. There was obviously heartbreak to it. There was sadness, but it was such a beautifully crafted story. Next is the Seasons of Revenge series by Morgan Elizabeth. It's just a bunch of women kind of all interconnected that should have done better with one man but are now doing better with the next. That's pretty much it. I had fun reading all of them. 2 of them got 4, 2 of them got 5, so they're in the 4.5 category. Literally so much freaking fun reading them. I was squealing like a little kid. The first one I read was the 4th one, so I read Big Nick Energy. It was so fun. I was squealing like a little bitch. I had such a good time. I was over the moon excited. So I then read the rest of the 3 of them and loved them just as much and more. Next is The Quiet You Carry by Nikki Barthelmess. This is a girl finding herself in the foster system and trying to navigate that. Very heartbreaking, very sad, but a beautiful story that I was really happy that I read. Next is Night Film by Marisha Puzzle. It's mystery thriller. It's horror-esque. It's mixed media. It's everything I needed at the time. I had such a good time. It intimidated the absolute badonkers out of me because I was petrified that I was going to hate it. It was big. It was thick. It was intimidating. Everyone loved it. It was never my reading style. I loved it. I had such a good time with it. Next is the Fitzpatrick Christmas series by Catherine Walsh. It's just about two brothers that find their other half, their two missuses in two separate books, and it kind of centers around the holidays. It's cute. They were fun. The stories were both really good. I thought the second one wouldn't be able to live up to the first one. Or no, I think I read the second one first, so I thought the first one wasn't going to be able to live up to the second one in my mind because I read it in reverse, but it was so good. I had such a fun time. Both books were 4.5. That's a lie. I rated Snowden 5. So yes, Snowden, they're stuck in a cabin, and apparently I'm a good old sucker for forced proximity. Now we're into 5-star territory. I have to start with Master of Salt and Bone by Carrie Lake because I don't remember this. I didn't know I read this. I have no memory of reading this. I have no memory of anything about how I felt, but clearly I rated it well enough. I loved it well enough at the time. I don't want to change my rating just because I don't remember it now, because I feel like that invalidates my experience then. And unless there's some like genuine reason I remember that I didn't like the book, I'm not going to change my rating because that's not fair to me, because I'm invalidating myself, and like, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be on your own side. And then B, it's also not fair to the author because I'm just like taking away a 5-star read because I don't have a brain. Like, Greetings from Lavender Valley by Tammy L. Grace is a collection of letters written to this woman's 5 or 6 foster daughters that she had seen grow up, and this is all coming from her throughout the span of her life. So when she first found out she was adopting them up until now, when she is kind of like on her last legs, essentially. It was beautiful. I started trying to read like the full series, so we got each like person's story, but the letters spoke to me so much more than the actual story did. I don't think I needed the stories to be their own thing for me. I think I was just happy enough with the letters. I got enough about each of the girls to know where they are, to be proud of them in their own way and in my own way, but I didn't need a whole story about them, essentially. Next is Christmas in Coconut Creek by Carissa Kinward. It's essentially a book about a girl who goes to visit her best friend for the holidays in a separate state and meets this hot man on a plane, and it just all spirals from there, baby. Loved it. It was so cute. I had such a good time reading it. I'm such a sucker for holiday romance, apparently, because all of these were slay. But yeah, it was fun. I had a great time. Next is King and the Dragonflies by Kacen Callender. This is literally the one and only middle grade on here. I loved it. It's about this boy who had lost his brother and he thought that he was a dragonfly. It was beautiful. I loved it. I had a great time reading it. I don't remember a whole lot about it. It didn't stick with me, I guess maybe in the way that I had hoped it would, but I know at the time that I thought it was beautiful. I might have shed a few tears because that's very on brand for me. So yeah. Make You Miss Me by B. Celeste is about a young woman who marries her high school sweetheart. They end up being divorced years down the line, and she lives next door to her ex's boss. So good. I had such a fun time reading it. It was beautiful. Clearly that's a theme, but it was actually so beautiful. The writing was well done. I love B. Celeste writing. I've read one more by her and I clearly can't get enough, but I'm obsessed. It was so good. The relationship was perfect. It was everything I needed it to be. Dangerous Lies by Becca Fitzpatrick, another 5-star read for me. I really loved this. It's about a teenage girl that gets put in witness protection. It was good. It was sad. It was beautiful. It wasn't really meant to be beautiful, I don't think, because it truly was just like a YA mystery thriller. But I think I just needed it. I think it was at a time where like maybe my palette needed a cleanse, and I just had a very good time with it. I thought the writing fit really well for me. The pacing was perfect. It was everything I needed at that moment. Next is the Frontline series by Michael Grant. This is a complete reread for me. I love this series. It's 3 different perspectives of different women in World War II. This is such an underrated series for me. Do I think there are some elements that could have been different this time around? Yes. There may be some situations or some words that were used that I wasn't the biggest fan of. So I will definitely say that. But the story itself was absolutely incredible. Each time I read it was blown away by the writing, just because the other series I had read by this man was so different. But this writing was so beautiful. It was well thought out. Research was done. It was just great. It spanned several years of the war, and it spanned all of their perspectives, and they each did different things in the military. It was beautiful. Then we have Kinda Sorta Fine by Spencer Hall. This is about a young, chubby teenage boy who has some insecurities about himself, but then he gets paired up in a project with someone who is societally beautiful, and they end up doing like a bunch of fun things together, and they end up falling for each other. And it's very cute, and it's not something I see a lot, like plus size representation for men. So this was nice, especially in young adults, because, you know, it's such a crime to be fat in this world, and it's becoming less so, 100%. There are less, you know, restrictions, but it's still like a big crime. And especially like we see so much lately now about female body positivity, which we've always needed. But my heart does go out to, you know, teenage boys who are in that same plus size category but don't have the representation that we are now getting. Young teenagers and young boys who have a different body than what is considered normal and beautiful, they also deserve to feel special in their bodies. And this book, I feel like, did that, or at least it touched on it, or it gave representation, and I just love that. I loved it. Next is Beach Read by Emily Henry. If you don't know what this is about, you're under a rock. I had such a good time reading it. Two authors switch books. They write each other's book in separate genres, and then they fall for each other in the meantime. Cute, good, excellent, beautiful, stunning, wonderful.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never the same, totally unique, completely not ever been done before, unafraid to reference or not reference, put it in a blender, shit on it, vomit on it, eat it, give birth to it.
I had so much fun with it. Does My Body Offend You by Mara Cuevas and Marie Marquard. This is a young adult female empowerment book where women are taking their bodies back and fighting back against the system. I love books like this. One of my favorite books of all time was a book like this, so I loved it. Had a great time. Next is Don't Let In the Cold by Keely Patrick. It's isolated settings, it's snowy, it's a good time, it's a mystery thriller. Great. The Cruel Pin series by Holly Black. Two twins get abducted into the Fae world. One is adapting as well as she can. The other is kind of like not fighting it, but like being bullied because she's not as like malleable to fitting in. I don't know. I don't remember a whole lot about it. All I know is that I actually loved it. Next is This Is My America by Kim Johnson. This is a book about a young girl who writes to this program called Innocence X, who is the only like defense program that can help her father, who is innocent but on death row currently. His days are getting closer to when he's going to be killed, so she's kind of running out of time. Beautiful story, gorgeously written. It was just everything that it needed to be from where I can say and where I can comment. It was just beautiful, and it was so well done. I'm so glad that I chose to pick that up at the time that I did, because it was something that really, really blew me away. Next is The Silence That Binds Us by Joanna Ho. This is about a young Asian boy who commits suicide, and his family is dealing with the aftermath of that. His sister feeling guilty that she may have been able to help him, and the media is kind of spinning a story to fit their own narratives, as they do, and the family is dealing with that. It is beautiful. I cried a lot. That's on brand, as we've said, but I cried a lot. Like, I sobbed. And it's just a testament to the story and how beautiful and how stunning it was, because it broke my heart so much. And it just kept breaking it over and over and over again in the best ways possible. So I had such a beautiful time reading it. I loved it so much. I guess we're in my top 3 now. The third one is What I Lost by Alexandra Bellard. It is essentially about a girl who is in an eating disorder rehab center, and it's all about her journey there. And it was really beautiful. I don't know if I just read it at the right time, because I don't necessarily know if it was like spectacular, but I think I just read it in the right time for like my own body insecurity issues, that this really spoke to me, and I really related to the main character so heavily in this whole matter. So I had just nothing but good things to say about it, and I still sometimes think about it. It's really like right there on my shelf. Like, it's beautiful to me, and it's a book that has stuck with me. Number 2 is Don't Hate the Player by Alexis Ned. This is my favorite romance of all year. It is a young adult romance about 2 gamer kids that are on opposite like competitive gaming teams, and they end up falling for each other. And I swear to God, I've never had more fun. I actually didn't think I was gonna like it at first, because it's told in dual perspective. One of the perspectives for a while was in like text format, and I just don't love that, but I actually had a great time. Like, it was so fun, so cute, loved it. And I guess the number 1 series I read this year, actually the best of the best, was the Ruined series by Amy Tintera. This took me by surprise, because I'd never heard of this series before. I got this secondhand. It was nothing that was hyped up for me, and yet it quickly became my favorite favorite book of the year. And I was chasing a high all year that I don't think I could get back because I read this so soon. But it was essentially a young girl it's a kingdom fantasy. We get it. Her parents are murdered in front of her in her kingdom, and her sister was taken by said kingdom. And her plan is to break into the kingdom and have the prince fall in love with her. And things happen. And it's just so fun. And it's a trilogy, and each book got 5 stars. Like, each book was incredible in its own way. Each book tied together beautifully. The writing was fun. It was quick-witted. It was quick-paced. Like, it was everything I needed it to be and everything that I think a fantasy for young adults should be. So that is everything. Those are all the books and series I read in 2023 in the shortest format that I could possibly find. I am glad that I got to recap these with you guys. I'm going to be doing like quarterly wrap-ups, I think, for the time moving forward, just because I like quarterly best. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you read any of these books, if you felt the same way or didn't feel the same way, because I know my reading taste differs from some people, and that's okay. I'm comfortable with it, but I love to hear when other people have differing opinions, as long as you're respectful, because some people just are not, and that's okay. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning into this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. I'm finally back, baby, and I'm posting once a week, every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. So we'll see you next time. Bye, readers.